In this tutorial, I am going to summarize what I have discussed so far. We discussed about 4 stages of heart pump. When heart pumps blood, it pumps blood into 4 stages. So here I am going to say a few words about each stage: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4. Let me start with stage 1, which is also called late diastole, that is relaxation. What happens here? The right and left atrium relaxes. Blood flows into right and left atrium and right and left ventricle. So I have shown the relaxation of the atrium using the direction follow the direction of the arrow. When the direction of the arrow is outwards, that means it is a relaxation. Okay. So as a result of it, blood flows into atrium, that I have shown with bold arrow on the left hand side and again white arrow on the right hand side. Okay. Now what is the status of the valves? This tricuspid and mitral valve, which is at the junction of atrium and ventricle, they are open, and because these two valves are open, blood also flows into ventricles. Whereas pulmonary valve and aortic valve, which I shown with black, these two valves are closed. Why these two valves are closed? Because the blood pressure in the pulmonary artery and aorta is very high, whereas blood pressure in the ventricle is very low. Because of this, these two valves are closed, which also prevents backflow of blood into ventricles. So in this stage, in the right atrium, blood with low in oxygen flows in, and that blood again flows into right ventricle, and in the left atrium, blood rich in oxygen flows in and then flows into ventricle. Now let us talk about the second step, which is called atrial systole. Here left and right atrium contracts, which squeezes blood into left and right ventricle, and as a result of which right and left ventricle gets filled with blood. Of course, the right ventricle will have deoxygenated blood, and left ventricle will have oxygenated blood. And the tricuspid and mitral valves, these two valves are open, whereas pulmonary and aortic valves, these two valves are closed. And this, because this left and right atrium is contracting, so blood is forced into ventricles. This aortic and pulmonary valves, these two valves are closed. Okay. Now let me go to the third stage, third part of the cycle, that is called ventricular systole. Here the ventricles contract. Now the ventricles are contracting, which I am showing with an arrow. When it is pointing inward, that means it is a contraction. The left ventricle contracts, which eject oxygenated blood into aorta through open aortic valve. That is a white arrow, and this is the aorta. Okay. So this is the left ventricle, which is ejecting blood into aorta, and you can see the arch of aorta with 3 exit points. Now right ventricle also contracts, which eject deoxygenated blood into pulmonary artery, that I have shown with a red thick arrow. Here the blood is forcing into pulmonary artery. Now it is going into pulmonary artery. I am showing this with an arrow. Okay, so now status of the mitral and tricuspid, these two valves are closed. Mitral and tricuspid valves are closed, which prevent backflow of blood into atrium. So because of this, blood cannot flow back into the atrium, and because the pulmonary and aortic valves are open, blood is forced into pulmonary artery and aorta. So this is the last step of the, no, this is the third step. Okay, so one more step is remaining. So in the third step, there is ventricular systole. The ventricles contract and blood is forced into pulmonary artery and aorta. And let us talk, and now we are talking about the fourth step, which is called early diastole. Here the ventricle relax. I have relax means I have shown with an arrow which is pointing outwards. Ventricle relax, and then blood again flows into atrium and the cycle begins. Again the blood is flowing into atrium, which I am showing with red color arrow on the left hand side of the diagram, and white color arrow on the right hand side of the diagram. And remember, left hand side is actually the right, because we are facing the heart. Okay, and I think you got it by now, that what is shown on the left in the diagram is actually our right, and vice versa.